I thought I knew what loneliness felt like until the day I realized I had been living someone else's dream and she had been living mine. It started on a Tuesday morning in September at a coffee shop I visited every day before work. I was 29, single, working as a marketing consultant in Portland, and I had just moved into a new apartment after a painful breakup. I was starting over, again, trying to convince myself that this time would be different, that this time I would build a life that actually felt like mine. She was sitting at my usual table by the window, the one with the view of the street where the morning light came in just right. I remember feeling annoyed at first, territorial even, but then she looked up and smiled, and something in that smile made me pause. She had this warmth about her, this openness that felt rare in a city where everyone seemed to be performing some carefully curated version of themselves. I got my coffee and sat at a different table, pulling out my laptop to work on a presentation. I could feel her watching me, not in a creepy way, but with genuine curiosity. After about 10 minutes, she walked over. "Excuse me," she said. "I know this is random, but I couldn't help noticing your laptop case. Is that from the design conference in Seattle last year?" I looked down at the sticker on my case, surprised. "Yes, actually, were you there?" "I was," she said, her face lighting up. "I'm Emma, by the way. Emma Chen. I just moved here from San Francisco 2 weeks ago. I'm in digital marketing too." She extended her hand, and I shook it, feeling that strange electricity that happens when you meet someone and immediately sense a connection. We talked for 2 hours that morning. I was late for work, but I didn't care. Emma had this way of making you feel seen, really seen, like every word you said mattered. She laughed at my jokes, asked thoughtful questions, and shared stories from her own life that mirrored mine in surprising ways. She had just ended a 3-year relationship too. She loved the same obscure indie bands I did. She was an only child, like me. She had a complicated relationship with her mother, just like I did. By the time we exchanged numbers, I felt like I had known her for years. Over the next few weeks, Emma became my constant companion. We met for coffee every morning, went to yoga classes together, explored Portland's food scene on weekends. She was easy to be around, the kind of friend who never made you feel judged, who always had time, who remembered the small details you mentioned in passing. When I complained about my demanding client, she listened patiently. When I worried about my aging father back in Ohio, she offered genuine comfort. "I want you to meet my other friends," I told her one evening over dinner at a Thai restaurant downtown. "You would love them. Sarah works in tech, and Jen is a photographer. We have this monthly dinner thing." "I would love that," Emma said, her eyes brightening. "I've been feeling so isolated since the move. You have no idea how much your friendship means to me." The words touched me. I had been feeling the same way. After my breakup with Daniel, most of our mutual friends had drifted away, choosing sides or simply moving on with their lives. Emma felt like a gift, like the universe was finally giving me something good after so much loss. When I introduced Emma to Sarah and Jen at our next dinner, they welcomed her warmly. Emma was charming, funny, asking all the right questions, showing genuine interest in their lives. By the end of the night, Sarah pulled me aside in the bathroom. "I really like her," Sarah said. "She's great. Where has she been hiding?" "Just moved here," I said, feeling proud, like I had discovered something valuable and was sharing it with the people I loved. Emma started joining our group regularly. She came to Sarah's birthday party, helped Jen set up her photography exhibition, joined our weekly trivia night at the local pub. She fit in seamlessly, like she had always been part of our circle. But more than that, she seemed to fit into my life specifically, mirroring my schedule, my habits, my preferences. She started wearing clothes similar to mine, neutral tones, minimalist styles. She got the same haircut I had, a long bob with subtle highlights. She joined my gym, started taking the same morning spin class. At first, I was flattered. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, right? I thought it was sweet that she admired my taste, that she wanted to adopt some of my habits. "You two could be sisters," Jen joked one night when we all met for drinks. "Seriously, look at you. Same hair, same style, same coffee order." We laughed about it, but something in Emma's expression caught my attention. There was a flash of satisfaction in her eyes, a small smile that seemed to say, "Exactly." I pushed the thought away. I was being paranoid, reading too much into nothing. Emma was my best friend. She had been there for me during some of my darkest moments, listening to me cry about Daniel, encouraging me when I doubted my career choices, celebrating my small victories like they were her own. In November, I started dating again. I matched with a guy named Alex on a dating app, a software engineer with kind eyes and a dry sense of humor. Our first date was at a wine bar downtown, and it went well, really well. I felt that flutter of possibility that maybe this could be something real. I texted Emma about it immediately, gushing about how Alex had made me laugh, how we had talked for hours, how he had walked me to my car and kissed me goodnight in a way that made my knees weak. She responded within minutes. "That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. You deserve this. Tell me everything." And I did. I told her everything. About our second date at the art museum, our third date cooking dinner at his place, the way he texted me good morning every day, the way he listened when I talked about work stress. Emma was my sounding board, my cheerleader, my confidant. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that Emma was taking notes. She was learning the blueprint of what I wanted, what I responded to, what made me feel loved. She was studying me the way a scientist studies a specimen, with careful attention to every detail. By December, Alex and I were officially together. He met my friends, including Emma, at a holiday party I hosted at my apartment. Emma was warm and friendly, asking Alex about his work, complimenting his choice of wine, laughing at his stories. After everyone left, I felt this deep sense of contentment. My life was finally coming together. I had a great job, amazing friends, a promising relationship. I had Emma, who felt like the sister I never had. I should have known that happiness like that doesn't last. I should have paid attention to the small signs, the way Emma's eyes lingered on Alex a little too long, the way she asked too many questions about our relationship, the way she seemed to show up wherever we were, accidentally, coincidentally. But I didn't see it. I was too busy being grateful, too busy enjoying the warmth of belonging. I didn't see the shadow growing behind me, the reflection in the mirror that was learning to smile exactly like I did, to move exactly like I moved, to want exactly what I wanted. I didn't see Emma for who she really was, not yet. That revelation was still coming, slowly, like a storm building on the horizon, dark clouds gathering while I stood in the sun, completely unaware of what was about to break. The first time I noticed something was truly off, it was January, and Emma had just posted a photo on Instagram that made my stomach drop. It was a picture of her at a coffee shop, not our usual one, but a new place across town that Alex had taken me to the week before. She was sitting at a corner table, laptop open, wearing a cream-colored sweater I'd worn on that exact same date. The caption read, "Found my new favorite spot," complete with a coffee cup emoji and a heart. I stared at the photo for a long time, trying to understand the feeling crawling up my spine. It was just a coffee shop. People discovered new places all the time, but something about it felt wrong, like she had traced my steps, retraced a moment that was supposed to be mine and Alex's. I called Sarah that night. "Am I crazy? Or is Emma kind of, I don't know, copying me?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "I mean, you two do have similar styles now. But I think that just happens when you spend a lot of time with someone." I started dressing like my college roommate without even realizing it. "Yeah, maybe," I said, but I wasn't convinced. The incidents started piling up, small things that individually seemed innocent but together formed a pattern I couldn't ignore. Emma started using the same phrases I used, the same expressions. When I said something was giving me all the feels, she started saying it too. When I started ending my work emails with warm regards instead of best, she switched to the same sign-off within a week. She got a tattoo in February, a small constellation on her wrist, the same constellation I had tattooed on my ankle 2 years earlier. When I asked her about it, she smiled and said, "You inspired me. I've always loved that you have Orion. It felt like the right time to get my own." I wanted to feel flattered, but instead I felt invaded, like she was peeling away layers of my identity and wearing them as her own. In March, things escalated. I had been working on a pitch for a major client, a campaign concept I was really proud of. I had mentioned it to Emma over coffee, explaining my creative approach, the tagline I had developed, the visual strategy. She listened intently, asked smart questions, encouraged me the way she always did. 2 weeks later, I was scrolling through LinkedIn and saw that Emma had posted about a new project she was working on. The concept was nearly identical to mine. Different client, different industry, but the creative framework, the language, even the strategic approach, it was all too similar to be coincidental. My hands shook as I read her post. She had taken my idea, my work, and passed it off as her own innovation. I felt sick, betrayed, but also confused. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe great minds think alike. Maybe I was being territorial and paranoid. I didn't confront her. I told myself it wasn't worth damaging our friendship over professional overlap. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it was growing, sending roots into every interaction we had. Alex noticed before I fully admitted it to myself. We were at his apartment one evening in April, cooking dinner together, when he said, "Does Emma always text you this much? What do you mean?" "I don't know," he said, stirring pasta sauce. "It just seems like she messages you constantly, even when we're together. And she asks a lot of questions about us, about our relationship. She's just interested," I said defensively. "She's my best friend." Alex looked at me with concern. "I'm not trying to start anything. I don't know. There's something about her that feels off to me." "You barely know her," I said more sharply than I intended. He dropped it, but his words stayed with me, echoing in my mind during quiet moments. I started paying closer attention to Emma's text, to the frequency and content of her messages. She did ask a lot about Alex. What did we do last weekend? What did he get me for my birthday? What were our future plans? At the time, I thought she was being supportive, invested in my happiness. Now I wondered if she was gathering intelligence, building a map of my relationship. Then, in early May, I got a call from Jen. "Hey, weird question," Jen said. "Did you tell Emma about my gallery showing next month?" "Yeah, I mentioned it." "Why?" "She just reached out asking if she could photograph the event. Said she's been getting into photography and wants to build her portfolio." I felt that crawling sensation again. Jen is a photographer. That's her profession, her art. Emma had never expressed interest in photography before. Never. "What did you tell her?" I asked. "I said yes," Jen replied. "I mean, she's your friend, and she seemed really enthusiastic, but it did strike me as odd. She's literally asking to do what I do." After I hung up, I sat in my apartment, the evening light fading through the windows, and let myself really look at what was happening. Emma wasn't just influenced by me, she was becoming me, or trying to. She had adopted my style, my career tactics, my hobbies through my friends, my speech patterns, my favorite places. She was inserting herself into every corner of my life, like she was trying to slip into my skin. I opened my laptop and did something I had been avoiding. I searched for Emma Chen on social media, really searched, looking beyond the profile I already followed. I found an older Instagram account, one from before she moved to Portland. The photos were sparse, but they told a story that made my blood run cold. Emma's old aesthetic was completely different. Dark colors, edgy makeup, alternative music references. Her hair was short and dyed black. Her style was punk, rebellious, nothing like the soft, minimalist look she had now, nothing like my look. I scrolled through her posts, looking at captions from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The voice was different too, more cynical, more aggressive. Then I found a photo from 4 years ago that stopped me cold. Emma with another woman, arms around each other, both smiling at the camera. The caption read, "My person, always and forever." I clicked on the tagged profile. The woman's name was Rachel, and her Instagram was public. I scrolled through her photos, my heart pounding. Rachel looked like me, same hair color, similar features, same style. But more than that, her life looked like mine. Marketing professional, lived in San Francisco, loved indie music, practiced yoga, posted about self-care and personal growth. I kept scrolling, going back in time through Rachel's feed. The photos with Emma stopped abruptly about 18 months ago. After that, there were posts about betrayal, about toxic friendships, about learning to trust yourself when someone shows you who they really are. One post from a year ago said, "To anyone dealing with someone who mirrors you to the point of erasure, get out. They don't want to be close to you. They want to be you." My apartment felt too small, the walls pressing in. I needed air, space, distance from this information that was rewriting everything I thought I knew about Emma. I texted Sarah and Jen. "Can you both come over? Now? It's important." They arrived within 30 minutes, concern written across their faces. I showed them everything, Rachel's Instagram, Emma's old photos, the timeline of how Emma had transformed herself to match me. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered. This is really disturbing." Jen was quiet, studying the photos on my laptop screen. "Have you noticed her around when you're not expecting her? Like, showing up places randomly?" I thought back through months of coincidental meetings. Emma at the farmer's market I went to every Sunday. Emma at the bookstore where I browsed on Saturday mornings. Emma running on the trail where Alex and I jogged together, even though she had told me she hated running. Yes, I said quietly, all the time. I thought it was just, I don't know, the universe bringing us together. I thought it meant we were meant to be friends. Sarah reached over and took my hand. This isn't friendship, this is obsession. You need to talk to her, set boundaries, or maybe just cut ties completely. But even as they said it, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. Emma had woven herself into my life so completely, so thoroughly, that extracting her would mean unraveling everything. She knew my passwords, my schedule, my fears, my dreams. She had access to my friends, my routines, my boyfriend. She didn't just want to be close to me, she wanted to be me. And I had let her in, given her the keys to every door, invited her to study the blueprint of my existence. Now I had to figure out how to get her out before she took over completely, before the reflection in the mirror became more real than the original, before I disappeared entirely into the shadow of the woman I had mistaken for a friend. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment with Emma like a film on loop, seeing now what I had missed before. The way she watched me, studied me, the intensity behind her smile, the questions that seemed caring but were actually extracting information, the casual way she absorbed every detail of my life and made it her own. By morning, I had made a decision. I needed proof, real evidence before I confronted her. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was seeing patterns that weren't there, connecting dots that didn't form a picture. But I had to know. I started with her social media. I created a fake account and sent a friend request to people who had commented on Emma's old posts. People from her San Francisco life. A woman named Michelle accepted within hours. I sent her a message, my heart pounding. Hi, I know this is random, but do you know Emma Chen? I'm trying to get in touch with a mutual friend of hers, Rachel something. Michelle responded quickly. Rachel Winters? Yeah, I know her. Are you friends with Emma? I typed carefully. I'm trying to understand some things. Did something happen between Emma and Rachel? The three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, a long message came through. Look, I don't know you, but if you're involved with Emma, be careful. What she did to Rachel was messed up. Rachel and Emma were best friends for like 2 years. Then Emma just became Rachel, started copying everything about her, got the same job at the same company, started dating Rachel's ex-boyfriend like a month after they broke up. Bought the same car. It got so bad that Rachel had to move and change her number. Emma even tried to befriend Rachel's family, showed up at her mom's birthday party uninvited. It was stalker-level behavior. Rachel filed a restraining order eventually. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. Do you know why Emma did it? Michelle's response was immediate. Rachel thought Emma was obsessed with her life, like she wanted to replace her or something. Some kind of identity thing. It was creepy as hell. Rachel's in therapy now dealing with it. Why are you asking? I thanked Michelle and closed the conversation, my mind racing. A restraining order. Emma had done this before, to someone else, someone who looked like me, who had a life like mine. This wasn't coincidence or admiration. This was a pattern, a pathology. I called Alex immediately. You were right, I said when he answered. About Emma. You were right. I told him everything, Michelle's messages, Rachel's Instagram, the timeline. He listened in silence, then said, you need to cut her off. Today. Block her number. Block her on everything. This isn't safe. But I can't just ghost her, I said. She knows where I live. She has keys to my apartment. I gave her my spare key last month when I went to visit my dad. The realization hit me like ice water. Emma had access to my home, my private space. She could come and go as she pleased. Change your locks, Alex said firmly. Today. And we need to tell your friends. Everyone needs to know what's happening. I spent the morning calling a locksmith, explaining I needed an emergency lock change. While I waited for him to arrive, I went through my apartment looking for anything that seemed out of place, any sign that Emma had been there when I wasn't home. In my closet, I found one of my sweaters in the wrong place, folded differently than I would fold it. In my bathroom, my perfume bottle was nearly empty, even though I had just bought it a month ago. She had been in my apartment, using my things, playing dress-up in my life. The locksmith arrived at noon, and I watched him work, feeling violated, exposed. After he left, I sat on my couch and drafted a text to Emma. I wrote and deleted it a dozen times, trying to find words that were firm but not inflammatory. Finally, I settled on something simple. Emma, I need some space. I'm going through some personal things and need time alone. Please respect my boundaries. Her response came within seconds. Of course, whatever you need. I'm here if you want to talk. I love you, friend. The words I love you felt like fingernails on glass. I didn't respond. Instead, I texted Sarah and Jen, asking them to meet me again, this time at Sarah's apartment. I didn't want Emma to see cars parked outside my building, didn't want her to know we were meeting about her. At Sarah's place, I told them everything I had learned. Sarah's face went pale. I gave her my business contacts, Sarah said quietly. She asked for introductions to people in my network, said she was trying to build her client base in Portland. Oh my God, she was using me to get closer to your professional circle. Jen was pacing, agitated. She's been texting me constantly, asking about you, what you're working on, whether you're seeing anyone seriously, if you've mentioned moving or changing jobs. I thought she was just being a good friend, checking in on you. But she was gathering information. We need to warn people, I said. Everyone who knows her through me needs to know what she's doing. Over the next few days, I reached out to everyone Emma had met through me, explaining carefully, trying not to sound paranoid or dramatic, but being honest about the pattern of behavior, about Rachel, about the obsession. Most people were shocked but supportive. A few thought I was overreacting. One person, a guy from trivia night, admitted that Emma had reached out to him on LinkedIn, asking strange questions about me, about my dating history, about whether I had ever mentioned wanting to leave Portland. Then, on Thursday evening, Alex called me, his voice tight with anger. Emma just messaged me on Instagram, he said. She said you two had a fight and she's worried about you. She asked if we could meet for coffee so she could understand what's going on, said she wants to help fix things between you two. What did you tell her? I didn't respond, Alex said. But this is escalating. She's trying to get to you through me now. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I closed all my curtains, checked that my new locks were secure, but the anxiety wouldn't leave. I opened my laptop and searched Emma's name along with terms like identity theft, obsessive behavior, personality disorder. I found articles about people who mirrored others to an extreme degree, case studies about obsessive friendships, forums where people shared stories similar to mine. One article talked about how these patterns often escalated when the target tried to create distance. The obsessed person would increase their efforts to maintain connection, sometimes becoming aggressive or vindictive. Some would try to turn mutual friends against the target, rewriting the narrative to make themselves the victim. I thought about Emma's message to Alex, how she had framed our situation as a fight, how she was positioning herself as the concerned friend trying to help. She was already starting to control the story. On Friday morning, I woke to a notification. Emma had posted on Instagram a photo of herself at our usual coffee shop, sitting at the table by the window, my table. The caption read, "Sometimes the people you love most are the ones who hurt you deepest, grateful for true friends who see me for who I really am." The comments were filled with support, people I didn't know telling her to stay strong, asking if she was okay. She was building a narrative, creating evidence that she was the injured party, that I had wronged her somehow. I felt sick. She was better at this than I was, more practiced. She had done this before with Rachel, probably with others before Rachel. She knew how to play victim, how to gain sympathy, how to turn the story in her direction. Sarah called me that afternoon. Emma just called me, Sarah said. She was crying, saying you've been pushing her away, that she doesn't understand what she did wrong. She asked if I knew what was going on with you, said she was worried about your mental health. My mental health, I repeated, my voice hollow. I told her I couldn't discuss it, Sarah said, but she was convincing. If I didn't know what I know, I would have believed her completely. She sounded genuinely hurt and confused. That's when I realized the full scope of what Emma was doing. She wasn't just copying my life anymore. She was trying to replace me in it, to step into my role while casting me as unstable, unreliable, someone who had turned on a loyal friend for no reason. If she succeeded, she wouldn't just have my style, my habits, my interests. She would have my friends, my reputation, my boyfriend, my entire existence, and I would be left with nothing, erased, a cautionary tale about someone who lost herself to paranoia and jealousy. I sat in my apartment as the afternoon light faded, understanding finally what I was up against. This wasn't just about setting boundaries or having a difficult conversation. This was a battle for my own identity, my own life. Emma had declared war the moment she decided to become me, and I had been too trusting, too naive to see it coming. Now I had to fight back, had to reclaim what was mine before she took it all. But I was terrified because I didn't know how far she would go, what she was capable of when cornered. When her carefully constructed mirror image started to crack, I was about to find out. The breaking point came on a Tuesday, exactly 8 months after Emma had walked into my life at that coffee shop. I was at work, sitting in a client meeting, when my phone buzzed with a text from Alex. I glanced at it discreetly under the table and felt my world tilt. Emma just showed up at my office. Security is handling it, but you need to know. She told the receptionist she was your sister and that there was a family emergency. When they wouldn't let her up, she started crying in the lobby. My hands went cold. I excused myself from the meeting and called Alex immediately. She's gone now, he said. But she was here for almost 20 minutes, making a scene, saying she needed to see me, that it was urgent, that you were in trouble and wouldn't answer her calls. The receptionist finally threatened to call the police and she left. I'm coming over, I said. No, Alex said firmly. I'm coming to you. We're going to the police. This is harassment. This is stalking. We're documenting all of it. That evening, sitting in a police station under fluorescent lights that made everything feel surreal, I filed a report. I brought screenshots of Emma's messages, her social media posts, the timeline of incidents. The officer, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes, listened carefully. Has she threatened you directly? She asked. No, I said, not in words. But she's threatening my life by trying to take it over. The officer nodded, sympathetic but realistic. What you're describing is concerning, but without explicit threats or proof of illegal activity, there's limited action we can take right now. You can file for a restraining order, but you'll need to demonstrate a pattern of behavior that makes you fear for your safety. She's been in my apartment without permission, I said. I gave her a key, but I've asked for it back and she hasn't returned it. I've changed my locks, but that's breaking and entering, right? Did she enter after you changed the locks? No, I admitted, not that I know of. The officer gave me paperwork for a restraining order, information about stalking laws, and advice to document everything, every message, every encounter, every witness to her behavior. It felt like so little, such a small defense against something that felt massive and overwhelming. When we left the station, Alex drove me home and stayed with me, both of us too wired to sleep. We sat on my couch, and I felt the weight of the past months pressing down on me, the betrayal, the violation, the sheer exhaustion of being studied and copied and infiltrated. I trusted her. I said quietly. I told her everything. She knows things about me that I've never told anyone else. She knows my passwords, my credit card information from when we ordered dinner together, my work projects, my family issues, my insecurities. She has ammunition to destroy me if she wants to. Then we take away her power, Alex said. We tell everyone the truth, the whole truth, before she can twist it. We control the narrative. Over the next 48 hours, I wrote out everything, a detailed account of Emma's behavior, backed up with screenshots, dates, witnesses. I shared it with my close friends first, then with my professional network, a carefully worded message that explained I had been the target of obsessive behavior and wanted people to be aware in case Emma tried to contact them using my name or claiming to represent me. The response was overwhelming. People I barely knew reached out with support, sharing their own stories of toxic friendships, manipulative people who had infiltrated their lives. 3 women messaged me privately to say Emma had contacted them on social media, asking questions about me, trying to befriend them. One woman said Emma had shown up at a yoga class she taught, saying I had recommended it and had asked detailed questions about my attendance and behavior. The pattern was undeniable, documented, witnessed by dozens of people. I felt validation, but also a deep sadness. This was real. This had happened to me. I hadn't imagined it or overreacted. I had been targeted systematically by someone who had seen my life and decided she wanted it. On Friday, 5 days after Emma showed up at Alex's office, I received an email from her. The subject line was simply, I'm sorry. I opened it with trembling hands. I know you don't want to hear from me, and I'll respect that after this, but I need you to understand, I never meant to hurt you. I never meant for things to go this far. When I met you, I saw everything I wanted to be. You were confident, successful, surrounded by people who loved you. You had this lightness about you, like you knew who you were. I've never had that. I've spent my whole life trying to figure out who I'm supposed to be, trying on different versions of myself, and none of them ever felt right. But when I was with you, when I was like you, I felt real for the first time. I felt like I had an identity, a purpose. I know that's not fair to you. I know I crossed lines. I see that now. I'm leaving Portland. I'm going back to San Francisco to get help, real help. I found a therapist who specializes in identity issues and attachment disorders. I want you to know that you changed my life, even if I went about it all wrong. You showed me what it looks like to be whole. Now I need to learn how to be whole on my own, not by borrowing someone else's life. I hope someday you can forgive me. I hope someday I can forgive myself. Take care of yourself. You deserve every good thing. Emma. I read the email 3 times, feeling a complicated mix of emotions. Anger, because she had violated my trust and my boundaries. Sadness, because underneath the obsession was a person who was deeply broken, deeply lost. Relief, because she was leaving, because this nightmare might actually be ending. I showed the email to Alex, to Sarah, to Jen. We agreed it could be a manipulation, a way to make me lower my guard. Or it could be genuine, a moment of self-awareness from someone who finally saw what she had become. I chose to believe it was real, not because I was naive, but because I needed to believe that people could change, that awareness could lead to healing, that the story didn't have to end in more darkness. I responded with a single line. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope you find yourself. 2 weeks later, I confirmed through mutual acquaintances that Emma had indeed left Portland. Her apartment was empty, her social media accounts deleted, her phone number disconnected. She had vanished as quickly as she had appeared, leaving behind only the disruption of her presence, the lessons learned from her obsession. I spent the next months rebuilding, reclaiming. I changed my passwords, my routines, my favorite places. Not because I wanted to erase what had happened, but because I needed to prove to myself that my life was mine, that I got to decide who I was and how I showed up in the world. I went to therapy, working through the betrayal, the violation of trust, the strange grief that comes from losing someone who was never really who you thought they were. My therapist helped me see that what happened wasn't my fault, that being open and trusting and generous with friendship wasn't a weakness, it was a strength that someone had exploited. Sarah and Jen were there through all of it, patient and supportive, helping me process, helping me laugh again, helping me remember who I was before Emma and discover who I was becoming after. Alex stayed too, steady and certain, loving me through the healing, never making me feel broken or damaged, always reminding me that I was strong enough to survive this, strong enough to thrive beyond it. 6 months after Emma left, I was sitting at that coffee shop, at the table by the window where this had all started. The morning light was coming in just right, and I was working on a new project, something creative and challenging and entirely my own. A woman approached my table, young, friendly, with a warm smile. "Excuse me," she said, "I love your laptop case. Where did you get it?" For a split second, my body tensed, old instincts kicking in, warning signals flashing. But then I breathed, centered myself, remembered that not every stranger was a threat, that not every connection would turn toxic. "Online?" I said simply. I smiled back, but I didn't offer more. I had learned to protect my boundaries, to be kind without being open in ways that left me vulnerable. The woman nodded and walked away, and I returned to my work, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace, ownership, clarity. Emma had tried to steal my life, but in the end, she had given me something unexpected. She had forced me to examine who I was, to defend my identity, to understand the difference between sharing yourself and losing yourself. I learned that love, whether romantic or platonic, should never require you to give away pieces of your soul. That trust should be earned slowly, protected carefully, and withdrawn immediately when violated. That the right people will celebrate who you are, not try to become you. I learned that my life, my identity, my essence, these things are not up for grabs, not open for interpretation or imitation. They are mine, only mine, built from my choices, my experiences, my unique way of moving through the world. And I learned that sometimes the person who seems like a gift from the universe is actually a test, a mirror showing you what happens when you don't protect what matters most. I passed that test, barely, painfully, but I passed it. And sitting there in that coffee shop, in the morning light, in my life that belonged only to me, I felt grateful, not for Emma, but for surviving her, for reclaiming myself from someone who tried to erase me. Love isn't always what it seems. Sometimes it's a mask worn by someone who doesn't know their own face. And the strongest love of all is the love you have for yourself, the fierce protection of your own identity, the courage to say, "This is mine, this is me, and no one gets to take that away." I took a sip of my coffee, exactly how I liked it, and smiled. I was here. I was whole. I was mine. And that was enough.